Hey everybody, welcome back to Jay's Fifth Down, a football podcast. I'm your host, Jaden, once again here with David Rocker, former American professional football player for the NFL, played for the Los Angeles Rams, also was a head coach at Point University here in Georgia. So, Coach, I appreciate you coming on the podcast and hopping on
No
with
problem.
some ball.
Well, no problem.
Yes, sir. So, Coach Rocker, as I mentioned, you played in the NFL. So, tell us about, but before we get to that point, just tell us a little about, how you got into football and what sparked your interest into it, and then of course again going to college and everything like that, Auburn. Talk about that for a minute.
Okay. Well, I grew up an inner city kid right here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I come from a football family. My dad actually played football, and this is going back on you, but he played at Price High School. My dad comes from a family of 12, but he was the only one that was involved in sports, and he actually played linebacker. Got an offer to go to Fort Valley University, but he didn't go. His mom or his dad never came to any of his games. So that's where his football career ended, but he had a passion for us to play. So my dad was my elementary school coach, believe it or not. My dad actually coached 20 years of little league sports. I had my brother Tracy, who played before me. I have two older brothers, but my brother Tracy, now he's 3 years older than I. My dad coached him as well. We both went on to play at Fulton High School. Tracy, again, as I said, he was 3 years older than me. So even as a ninth grader, I guess they would say I was pretty good. I played varsity in the ninth grade, had an opportunity to play with my brother Tracy, but it was so funny because at that time, I was just still the young cat learning his way. And so it was funny that by the time I came out of high school, being the number one recruit in the state of Georgia, my brother Tracy had already established himself as an All-American at Auburn, but he kind of had that look like, now they're recruiting you because of me, because he never got a chance to see me play. So it was funny that now when he's seeing me, developing now on a whole different level as a freshman at Auburn, that's kind of where the respect was gained in. Like, okay, you can officially play on your own. It has nothing to do with me. And my brother Tracy went on from there to play with the Washington Redskins. He's now the defensive line coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. And from that, 2 years later, I came out of Auburn and went on to play with the Rams.
Yes, sir. And of course, the Rams just coming off just last year a Super Bowl win.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so they got that Super Bowl win over the Bengals there, and looking a little rocky this year, but we'll get to that later in the podcast. But so Coach, you also talk about how you got into coaching as well, because like I said, you mentioned you coach for Point University.
Right.
So talk about that whole process there, and what it's like just being in that environment, coaching college football, and talk about that because it's interesting.
Right. Well, I got involved. I was I started out coaching high school ball, and I actually just finished up coaching high school ball. But I ended up my first coach job. Of course, I coached my kids' little league team, and I really wasn't pressed to really get into coaching. But I was at Banneker High School, and at that time, my uncle was the principal at Banneker High School. And making a long story short, ended up in a situation where the head coach, they went through some changes. The head coach was no longer there. I was there helping with discipline at the school, and the baseball coach actually became the football coach. Not knowing much about football, he asked, listen, can you just come out and help me out? And that's where it kind of started right there, that I would start. I was the defensive line coach. And then from there, the head coach actually ended up having some health issues. So I was the interim head coach. And that's kind of where it all started, in the sense of really being able to change some things around there at Banneker High School. After leaving Banneker, I ended up at North Clayton High School. And from North Clayton, that's when a dear friend of mine, Kevin Porter, who we played at Auburn together, was the head coach at that time at Point University. And he asked me to come down and be his defensive line coach. So that's how I ended up being, again, the assistant coach at Point University. Kevin Porter went on to move on to a different school. And at that time, the president at Point asked me to be the head coach. And yeah, and it was different. You know, one of the things that you have to do as far as being coming from playing professional ball and knowing your own talent, you have to know how to um, back off. I don't want to use the word dumb things down, but you have to be able to recognize the different talent levels that kids can't necessarily do what you did. You know, a lot of times that's where um, professional players have a hard time adjusting that because they want to try to teach a kid to do something that they did, and it's like, no, he's not that talented. So it's just being able to meet a kid where he's at, work on his talent level, and try to make him the best possible football player that he can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you hit a good point there is that these professional players, especially when they leave the game and go into
Mm-hmm.
coaching, they try to get these kids to do things that, again, that, like you said, they probably their talent level won't let them do, or they're
Right.
not understanding. And I think a big thing about it is, you can't overcomplicate the game of football. You
Right.
know,
Yeah, that is
it's
so
it's
true.
it's fundamentals, and you can't
Yes.
overcomplicate it because when you do that and your players do not understand what you're asking them to do,
Yeah.
and you go out there on the game day and it can just be a mess,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's an
Absolutely.
important thing. You probably can testify that
Yeah.
being a coach. It's
Yeah, a lot of people try to make it rocket science. I mean, yeah, you can get to the point on making things complex on the professional level with different looks, different schemes. But at the end of the day, football is football. You know, it's one of those things that comes down to being in the right position, putting people in the right position, making sure that you're solid on the key word that you said, which is fundamentals. And I think that's one of the things that's being lost a lot today in the game. That a lot of young coaches don't want to spend the time necessary to teach fundamentals. They just want to go out there and hey, let's line up in this formation and let's run this play and that play. But they haven't worked on the fundamentals on making sure that a kid can catch, making sure that a kid can tackle correctly, and that's when you end up seeing it show up in the game. You can see you can go against a very talented team, but yet that talented team will lose because they have not worked enough on the fundamentals. But you can take an average team who works very diligently on fundamentals, and that be the team that you see going to the championship.
right, right, and it's always those teams that they play the game the right way. They're disciplined,
Yes,
aligned, assigned,
yes,
and it's just that's it,
that's
man.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
They're not making it hard at all. This is what we're gonna do, and we're just gonna do it to the best of our abilities. Yeah,
right, and those are the teams that you see that are most successful, right? As you mentioned. So,
absolutely.
now let me ask you this, man. What do you think was a key part in, the Los Angeles Rams? Of course, Sean McVay coming in, being the
Oh
coach
yeah.
those few years, and went to Super Bowl before. Didn't go so well the first time, and then I
Hmm.
guess you could say he tried to outcoach.
Yeah.
But then next couple of years, they got back rocking. Before you know it, man, they're back in Super Bowl and they win. So what do you think was the big key for the Rams to get that win last year, and maybe to as to why they might be struggling this year?
The key to the win last year was buy-in. You can look at a team. I mean, when you played on all levels, you can look at a team and you can tell when you have buy-in from everyone with the same mindset, with the same goal, with the same goal in mind. Everyone's working to get to the Super Bowl to get that ring. You saw that last year. The hardest part is to, like anything, once you win a championship, to do it again. That's difficult because now you're going to have guys who are going to say, okay, now it's time for me to get paid. Oh, okay, how are we going to get this worked out with my contract? You're going to have guys who are going to say, hey, listen, I mean, they're not going to say it out loud, but it's like, look, man, all I wanted was a ring. I've got one now. I'm going to chill, you know. So next thing you know, the team gets things start to change in different ways. You see, Von Miller was there. Now Von Miller's gone. It's just kind of
Yep.
those things that can happen, and before you know it, the team is being somewhat dismantled.
Yeah, yeah, and a big part of it, of course, they traded for Matthew Stafford, got him over there,
Yeah,
sent Jared Goff to Detroit.
yeah,
They saw the recipe with Brady and Bucks, and you know what? Let's go get a star quarterback in here,
yeah,
and and it worked out, and so
right,
and they got the Super Bowl win there. But like you said, you got guys and you win like that, and you're on cloud nine. It kind
right,
of can get to the point where your players are like, okay, yeah, I really want a ring. I'm just going to chill,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I want to get paid. So, um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
football. That's what we love this game because again, it can be every year. It's just you never know. It's
Oh yeah.
unpredictable.
Oh man, listen. You cannot go and say who won it last year. Look out, they're gonna be back again. It's like no. Everybody starts straight from scratch again, and you just never know who's gonna end up at the top.
Right, right. So, Coach, let me ask you this. Now, so being in the NFL, of course, you played. So, what would you say is the difference between, of course, being in a professional league like that, and then playing football at other levels, and how would players should a player prepare once they um, are heading to the league, or how can they prepare to head to the league, and the type of environment it is, what's expected of you, or
Yeah.
just a different environment?
I think the big difference is this, and as they say, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. From little league through high school through college, the big focus is being a team. Don't be selfish. Be disciplined. Those are the things that are ingrained into you, and you need those things. I'm not taking anything away from that. But the big change is when you become a professional. This is not something that you're doing now because it's fun and games. No, this is the way you make your living. This is the way you put food on the table. And when your eyes are open to that, in a sense of everyone has that mindset or that thinking, the coach does. So as much as he may like you as a person, if you're not getting the job done, immediately they're going to get someone else in there to get the job done. So the big thing that changes over is as much as you're hearing about team, 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 yeah, it's team, but you need to understand this. At the end of the day, you're an independent contractor. So you better make sure that you're handling your business, that you're doing what you need to do to put yourself personally in the best position to win. I mean, if you mess up in high school, oh man, the coach can just chew you out and hey, don't make that mistake again. No, you make that kind of mistake, you make a major mistake in the league, you're fired. You're gone. So that's the big difference. And people need to understand this is not one of those, oh, he put me on the bench. No, 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 no. You just losing your $1.2 million salary, your $500,000 salary because you were doing your job. So that's the big part. Understand you are an independent contractor and you need to make sure that you keep the main thing the main thing. Make sure you do study your playbook, know your plays, because that guy next to you, if you're competing for the same job, he's not going to be just so happy to help you out. You're not going to tell the guy what he needs to do, and he ends up getting the sack. And you're like, if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't have did that. So so it can get a little cloudy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You hit on the nail right there. And again, it's just, of course, it's a business, right? We always hear, it's a business
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
it is.
It is a
Yeah,
business, and so like you said, you mess up, there's the door, right? So I mean, again, it's kind of like scary when you think about it, but at the same time, of course, it just pushes you. I feel like pushes you harder and harder to do your job and get it done, the right way to just stay consistent, right? Because
absolutely.
that's the big key. And you see all the
Yeah,
time these quarterbacks, especially now, if they're not getting the job done, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna put somebody in there. If I'm a coach, I need somebody who's going to give me the best chance to win football games. And if you're not
yeah.
doing that, then you can't be my quarterback. Whatever the case
Right,
may be.
right. Nothing personal. Nothing personal. Yeah. So it's one of those things. One of the things I can remember that sticks out when I was playing that, even though my position was a defensive tackle that's playing inside. I wanted to put myself in the best position to not be expendable, if that makes sense to you. I wanted to make sure I could put myself in a sense of I would be valued. So what I did more so than just learning to play left tackle, I learned to play right tackle. I learned to play right defensive end. I learned all four positions up front. And a coach loves that when he can sit right there and somebody gets hurt and you're like, Coach, I can do that. He's like, yeah, you know all the plays? Yeah, I got it. And it's like, okay, yeah, we like him. We're going to keep him around. And that's something that, I chose to do on my own. It wasn't like, no, here's the deal. All you all need to know know how to play these positions. No, it's me taking that time out and saying, hold on, I got to learn this. I got to watch this guy. Okay, this is how they're doing on the end to know all those different positions. So, like I said, so to put myself in a position that I knew um, they would want me there.
Right. Yeah. It's just the versatility, right? Being able to play
Yes,
multiple positions. Coaches love that. The guy that he's putting in the effort to learn more than one position.
right.
That that shows you, hey, he loves his game. He wants to play, and
Right.
that's something that I feel like, in today's game of football, I don't know, it's just not, it's different, man. I mean, you can speak
It
on
is.
that further, which kind of leads to my next topic here. Between when you played, man, and now, how would you say just the game, just has evolved? I mean, just as far as character aspects, maybe, or like just,
Yeah.
I mean, speak on that for a
Oh
minute.
yeah. And that's the part when I can officially say, when I would hear the older guys talk about us when we were playing, being the younger guys, and now I can say I'm officially that old school guy. Um, to me, I think the part that's being lost is the part when things have become a little bit too relaxed. I think it was one of those things that it made you have character. You knew you had to have character. You knew what you were doing off the field would affect your job status. Well, that right now, unless it's something really serious, that's not important. Um, I think also as far as the work ethic, guys don't have to really work as hard. I know guys who probably play now. What do you mean don't have to work as hard? The game is different. Obviously, the big part is, I just say, I think we're 5 years away from professional football being touched. Because I'm like, football is a physical game. That's the way it's being played. So, the play that I saw when Brady Jarrett Brady Jarrett tackled Tom Brady, and all this. Oh well, he put his weight on him. All this. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It's just like this is football. And,
Yeah.
and you know what? And Tom Brady gets paid too much money for us to have to sit right here and try to figure out how I'm going to lay you down on the ground. Don't have time for that. So I just think the game has become, soft in a lot of areas. And don't get me wrong, I fully understand protecting the guys, doing what's necessary as far as the things that have happened with CTE, things of that nature. I fully get that part of it. But sometimes you can just, again, apply so many rules that you lose the aspect that at the end of the day, it's just still a physical game.
Yeah, and again, it's a physical game. You can't take that concept out of it. Football is
Right,
supposed to be physical. You are supposed to hit. And you're supposed to
right,
be violent. But at the same time, of course, you use common sense, right? And it's
right,
like it's.
absolutely.
I feel like now this mean in both college and the NFL, and sometimes even stemming down to the high school level, it's starting to trend that way. The roughing
Yeah,
the passer call has become a very very controversial thing lately,
right.
and it's become to where like it's just you can't even touch the quarterback now, and
Yes,
that's just not cool, and it's just taken away from from the physical aspect of the game. So, in your opinion, what do you think that the league needs to do? Just I mean, because just to solve this, like what do they need to do to just make it to where, yeah, we're taking the quarterbacks, but at the same time we're not just you know just giving it away. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I think it's one of those things when I say loosen up. I think it's one of those things when it's just getting to, as you talked about using common sense. There's certain things that we need to look at from the place of physics. Even if you're talking about protecting players, let's look at also protecting the other guys. You first of all, you want a guy to come off the ball at 250, 60 pounds, full speed, take on a guy who's 300 pounds. And so that means he's exerting all of his energy. And then all of a sudden in a split second, you want him to soften up real quick and grab the quarterback and lay him down. It's like, now he's going to end up hurt himself. You know what I mean? So I think it's one of those things when with certain rules, I just think it's just too cloudy. I think certain things you need to look at. Okay, listen, you're a quarterback where they have to wear extra padding, but here's the deal. If you're in the pocket and this happens, it's just football. In certain parts of it is what it is. A quarterback. Yeah, he can sack, knock down. Um, I'll make it a big number, 8 to 10 times a game. Let's go there.
Yeah.
But he's walked around all week, not hitting the ground at all. But this is what he's getting paid for on that game day. So it's just like I said, I think certain rules just kind of need to look at it and really kind of somewhat take it out of the game. Even with targeting, I understand if you see something and it's definitely intentional, I agree that guy should be thrown out of the game. But when a guy's going full speed and then you want to kind of look at like, oh, well, his helmet hit his helmet. It's like, do you really think he had time to think in a half of a second. Oh, let me put my head to the side, or let me pull it back. I mean,
Yeah.
so that part right there to me is just making it too difficult on the stuff that you just can't control at that moment. You just can't. So I think trying to make calls on that has made it very complicated for the guys playing.
Yeah, and it's just that because it's such a fast game, you don't have the
Exactly.
time to say, oh, like you said, maybe if I just, like, no, man, this is a fast game. You're playing at 100 miles an hour. This is
Right.
how football is supposed to be played. It's fast,
Yeah.
physical, aggressive, like and I just don't, I think, yeah, the what makes it so fun, man, is that you get to hit people without any repercussions. Why do we
Absolutely.
love football
Yes.
so much?
Yes.
You get to come out on the field and just grind, and
Yes.
you just go out there and lay your aggression all out on people, right? And
Right.
but now we're getting to the point where it's that aspect of the game is starting to fade away, and I don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good for football, like you said. Shoot, in a couple of years, it might be two-hand touch, like in the Pro Bowl. I think it's going to be a touch game. Like, I mean, what are we doing?
Right.
So I don't know, man. But I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, I think that's something that, of course, as time moves on, the league is
Right.
we're just going into a different era
Yeah.
right now,
It keeps
and
evolving. It keeps
it's
evolving.
evolving.
So who knows what's going to happen next? Who knows?
Yeah,
The thing that may take away the extra point, they're just going to go ahead and once you score, it's going to be 7 points. We're just going to give you that. We're not going to kick an extra point. So who knows? That's one down that guys won't run into each other. I mean, so just don't know how the game's gonna change.
absolutely. So, Coach, let me ask you your opinion.
Yeah,
Would you say are your thoughts on just, and this is can go for football or any aspect of life, just
yeah,
um, being able to focus on your goals, and just and ignoring the outside noise, right? Just locking in, and how important is it that you can't let distractions seep into your airspace? Talk about that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the thing is, if no people can look at you from a physical aspect and they can give their opinions. They can talk to you and they can make their opinions about you. But no one knows what's going on in your heart. No one knows. No one knows the determination that you have to accomplish whatever goals you have set. I think once you set your mind to something and that's what you really want, you have to still now be what I say, be realistic. A lot of times these people, right, in today's society, a guy look at some other guy on IG or Facebook and you're saying you want to be like him, but you don't want to put that work in. You don't want to do what's really necessary to get to that level. So be realistic with yourself and say, listen, I'm going to pay the price. I'm going to do what's necessary to get to whatever level I want to get to achieve whatever goal I want to achieve, and I'm going to have to understand it's going to take some sacrifice. When I say sacrifice, you're going to have to sacrifice missing out on some parties. You're gonna have to sacrifice being in the weight room when no one's around. It comes with the territory. So I would say make sure that whatever goal you set for yourself, be willing to pay the price and don't let anyone talk you out of or tell you what you can't do. And understand this part. I think this is very important as well, that you can't do it on your own. I think so many times people will sit right there and say, oh, I did it all on my own. No, I guarantee you somebody somewhere along the way helped you out. Even if it was tweaking an idea, tweaking a technique, giving you some great advice, you did not do it by yourself. So to me, I always acknowledge that. I think too often people just try to make it so selfishly, I did it on my own. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. When you really look back, you say, oh, I remember that guy told me, hey, don't lift that way. Do it this way. Hey, you know what? I noticed when you're running, you're not using your arms. I mean, so acknowledge those who help you along the way because you can't do it on your own.
Hmm. Yeah, and it gets to the point where you have to acknowledge those who have helped you, and just surround yourself with the people that you know are in that same on that same mindset, right? They're
Yeah.
trying to achieve something. Like I think the big thing now, especially the society like we live in, this culture, it forces you to want to just be around everybody, just think like everybody's, we're all, no, like you need to focus on what you're doing, and sometimes that, yeah, like you said, sometimes you have to sacrifice, even if
Absolutely.
it's your friends or family, whoever it might be, that if they're not supporting you or they're not helping you or, they're not,
Yeah.
just giving you, providing you with good energy, you have to eliminate those things out of your life, and so that's the
Right.
big thing. Just like a
Yeah.
bad player in a locker room, right?
Yeah.
It can destroy a team.
There you go.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
You know what? One of the key things I've lived by this since I read it back in high school, and I still hold it dear today. And Bill Cosby said these words. People can have their opinions about Bill Cosby, but what he said in this statement was very true. When he said the key to failure is trying to make everybody happy. The key to failure is trying to make everybody happy. And I was like, man, when I read that back in high school, I realized I could not make my parents and my teachers happy, but then trying to make sure the boys on the corner or the guys who who are doing drugs, I can't make them happy too. I had to make a choice. Man, you know what? No, I can't cut class. I got to be in class today because I'm trying to get somewhere. You know what I mean? The guys who are saying, "Hey, man, I'm not working out today. You know what? Come on, let's go and kick it." Now I got to sacrifice this kicking time. Don't get me wrong, I love having fun, but
Yeah.
I got to get down into this weight room. I could not make everybody happy. You know what I mean? So if you trying to make everybody happy, do know that you're going to fail. But if you know that your mind is set to make the sacrifices necessary, you'll be successful eventually.
Yeah, yeah. It just it all boils down to just having that, just being intentional, right? Every single day,
Yes,
being intentional, working on
absolutely.
your craft, and just getting better and better each and every day, whatever aspect of life it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And I look to some of the guys now, whether again it's in the music industry or business or of course in sports, right? These guys get to where they have been through this hard work, sacrifice, and just continue to put their head down and go to work. And so that's the big
Right.
thing I think is the takeaway right there. But coach, we appreciate you coming on here on the podcast, talking some ball with us and some life as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on, man. And of course, I wish the best to you, coach. Again, yeah, thank you just for this time, man. I
Thank you,
really
James. I
appreciate it.
appreciate you, brother. Keep doing your thing, man. I love the show.
Of course, thank you.
All right, man.